let's continue here. So we have the song initialization method. So we have the printing the info for the song, updating the rating. Updating the rating of a song is a setter method. That's what we need here. We need a setter method. So a setter method often has a title that looks like this, like set rating. Don't forget self is always there. And I'm going to say new rating, str new rating. And so what do I want? What do I care about? If my rating is from, let's say it has to be at least 1 star, and it has to be no more than 5 stars. And that whole line has to be composed of stars. Okay? So those are my rules. Can I translate those rules to a look before you leap checking? Yeah, sure, of course I can. So what I'm going to say is if length str rating is, new rating is less than, well, honestly, hang on. First thing I want to do is I want to check and make sure it's a string, right? Let's get really, really basic, not take anything for granted here because somebody might just enter 5 or something like that. So if is instance, and I'm going to say str new rating if it is a string. If that's true, then we can continue. Now I could use Boolean values here to like do this and this and this, but it's going to get kind of long. And so what I think I'm going to do is I'm just going to put if statements inside of if statements, which kind of does the same thing. So if that's true, then what I want to check next is if length str rating new rating, there we go, is, let's say, greater than 0, and length str new rating is less than 6. So that means it has to be between 1 and 5. Oops, that's not right. I should say and. That's what the double and sign is, another language. Sorry, it slipped up there. Okay, so if it's a string and if the length is greater than 0 and less than 6, then we're still on the right track. But I still haven't checked if it's 5 what or 4 what. Like, I don't know what those characters are. So now, if I want to be really hardcore about this, I can go through and check and make sure each character in that string is an asterisk. So here we go. So if I say for, actually, I'm going to say Boolean pass. Okay, so I'm going to create a new Boolean variable, and I'm going to call it Boolean pass, and I'm going to set it to 1. And what I'm going to do is that's going to say 1, and it's going to go through each character in that string. And it's the minute it finds something that is not okay, that's not an asterisk, it's going to change this to 0. And if that gets changed to 0 at any point in time, then we're going to kick it back and say it's not a valid string for us. So I'm going to say for str character in str new rating, if strc is not equal to an asterisk, then bool pass is changed to 0. And then after it goes through all of those, I'm going to say if Boolean pass is equal to 1 still at that point, then I'm going to return, or I'm going to say, I'm going to update the rating. That's what it is. Self dot str rating equals self dot str rating print, and I'm going to say you have changed the rating to str new rating. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to return the word success, or the string success. It's not really about what I'm returning here as much as it is I want it to exit. I want it to exit the function. Remember, this is a function. Set rating is a method because it's a function that lives inside that. But the minute I do this, it's out of here. That function stops executing. And the reason I want it to stop executing right there is because if all of that isn't true, if it doesn't go through all of these things and get to this point where it sets that change, then I want it to print. This is like a giant catch-all else for all of these if statements. You can't set the rating to str new rating. Print ratings should be this to that. Okay, so that gives the user some instruction on what to do. So let's try our setter here. So we'll print the songs, and then we'll say my song dot set rating, and let's try it with 3 stars. Okay, so 3 stars. Song has an object str new rating. What did I do here? Oh, right here. I used self in front of that when I shouldn't have, because I want to refer to this, not a property. So that was my mistake there. So let's run it. Okay, so there I have it. I've changed the rating to 3 stars. Be probably helpful if I tell it what song I change it to. So for self.str name to 3 stars. There we go. Okay, so when I run that, set the rating for Thriller to 3 stars. Oops, forgot a space. There we go. Okay, so now that runs the way I want it to, except for the extra character that I put in. There we go. Okay, so what happens if I try to say 3 in there? You can't set the rating to 3. It should be 1 star to 5 stars. Cool. What if I want to give it 0 stars? Okay, can't do that. What if I want to give it like 6 stars? Okay, can't do that either. Okay, so it's really like, now the rating is kind of a weird string because it's highly specific. If I wanted to just use an integer, I'd probably save myself a little bit of time, but I had to get all fancy with my stars. But there we go. I check this setter really tightens down what you can give it. And otherwise it just won't do anything because it's not going to mess up what's going on with these songs.